Stoicism. Why did Stoics wake up early in the morning? One morning in the middle of the 2nd century AD, the most powerful person in the world was awakened by his orderly. This could have happened in his tent at the front line of a war in Germany, or during his frequent and difficult travels across his empire in Asia Minor, Syria, Egypt, Greece, or Austria. The sun was still hiding, and it was cool, dark, and quiet outside. Like any normal person, part of the emperor didn't want to wake up, preferring instead to stay under the warm blankets in bed, where it's much more pleasant and simpler. But then he reminded himself, is this what I was created for? To always have it easy and pleasant, and not at all work and act? Don't you see the birds, plants, ants, and bees doing their part, contributing to the beauty of the surrounding world? And you should, too. If you don't want to do your job, you're not meeting your nature. This passage, authored by Marcus Aurelius in Meditations, resonates with a similar internal monologue that many individuals experience every morning. As soon as arriving at work, the immediate desire is to return home. So it was surprising to read how the most powerful man in the world scolded himself for wanting to stay in bed as long as possible. The emperor reluctantly got out of bed and put his feet on the cold floor, just like all people do every morning. This diary entry, this advice, serves as a useful reminder to get up, stop being lazy, and start working hard. Ryan Holiday often said that the decisions made in the morning determine not only how the day will go, but literally who one will become. Toni Morrison woke up early in the morning in the dark. She moved quietly, preparing her first cup of coffee. Sitting at her desk in her small apartment, as her mind became clear and the sun rose, filling the room with light, she began to write books. She repeated this routine for years, practicing this secular ritual used not only by writers, but by countless busy, purpose-driven people throughout all times. She stated that writers seek ways to that place where they can find inspiration, where they become conduits of information, participating in this mysterious creative process. For her, dawn was a signal to action. It was as practical as it was spiritual, because in the early days of her career, Morrison was a single working mother of 2 small boys. Her job as a magazine editor took up all her days, and the remaining time was filled with her children. By late evening, she had no energy left for creativity, so she could only write in the morning, those precious early hours between darkness and light, before her children would say, "Mom," before a stack of work papers demanded her attention, before the commute to work, phone calls, bill payments, and dishwashing. In the morning, she was free and full of energy, her mind clear, all other roles seemingly non-existent at that moment. Only inspiration and art mattered. Here she was, recently divorced at 34, beginning her first novel. She was one of the few black women in an incredibly male and white industry. She was no longer a child, and yet, despite all her responsibilities, it was quite simple. Her children needed her to be an adult, as did her unfinished novel. To wake up, be present, give it everything one has. She did just that, and continued to do so even after the success of her book, The Bluest Eye, which gathered a host of positive reviews. Even after 10 novels, 9 non-fiction works, 5 children's books, and 2 plays, she earned herself the National Book Award, the Nobel Prize, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And yet, despite all the applause, she must have been most proud of doing it while being an excellent working mother. Waking up early is not exactly fun. Even people who have benefited from it all their lives still struggle with it. Thinking one is not a morning person is a common misconception, Nobody inherently is. People have energy for work, for relationships, and for themselves, and a disciplined person knows this and conserves it carefully. They know that 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night does not negatively impact their productivity and performance. On the contrary, it contributes crucially to better work. It allows them to wake up and use the most productive hours of the day before they are interrupted, before they are distracted, before the rest of the world wakes up. Hemingway spoke about getting up early because no one could bother him. But one can imagine those mornings when he suffered from a hangover or was exhausted from parties. Those days were not as fruitful. The idea that even some great people could have been even greater resonates. It was discovered that in the morning one is simply more confident before the day has left its mark. Like most people, it is realized that in the evening there is no creative energy left. After a hard day full of banal conversations, stress, and fatigue, who could have any left? Top managers go to the gym early because they still have energy then. Jack Dorsey, CEO of Square and founder of Twitter, meditates every morning and then runs 6 miles. There's a reason why people read and think in the morning. They know they might not have time for it later. Get up and do it. Use that hour before dawn at the rush, while no one is watching, while everyone else is still asleep. In today's world, daily routines have evolved from the simpler days of life, yet the habit of rising early remains a cornerstone. The foremost morning principle: avoid the phone. Rather than immediately diving into emails and social media upon waking, it's more beneficial to engage in a workout or a leisurely walk. Following these, dedicating time to journaling helps in gathering thoughts. Subsequently, one should focus on accomplishing the day's most critical task. Once this task is completed, it's then appropriate to check the phone, perhaps to engage in some light-hearted browsing for fun. Jonathan Edwards said that Christ recommended getting up early in the morning. Is this why the quiet morning seems so sacred? Maybe it's because people are following the traditions of their ancestors, who also got up early in the morning to pray, do farming, fetch water from the river, or cross the desert before the sun got too hot. The main thought is finished, but the right morning is impossible without the right evening. The night before his title fight, Floyd Patterson performed the most important part of his training regime. It wasn't analyzing previous fights last minute. It wasn't rehearsing strategies. He just went to sleep. And not just for a little while, but for 11.5 hours, right up to the morning weigh-in. Before entering the arena, he slept another 3 hours, then napped a bit more in the locker room before the fight, in which he knocked out the exhausted champion in the 5th round. When about to fight one of the best boxers of all time, one needs to be well rested. Let others worry, check and recheck their strategies. Patterson just slept. Not because he didn't care about those things, but because he cared about what was most important. The moments of maximum productivity are unlikely to come when one is exhausted, running on fumes, or dependent on caffeine. Getting up early to do as much and as well as possible is very important, but Toni Morrison couldn't have done it if she had played video games until 4 a.m. or scrolled through Instagram all night. And of course, the debates of Marcus Aurelius with himself about whether to stay under the blankets would have completely different meaning if he had fallen asleep just a couple of hours earlier. Coming home tired after a long day, preparing dinner, putting the kids to bed, clearing out the email inbox, one might just want to flop on the couch. But in reality, what is needed is just to go to sleep. This solves many problems. People are tired, so they don't want to work. They are tired, so they procrastinate. They are tired, so they need Red Bull, coffee, and pretense. They are tired and make wrong decisions that eat up time that should have been spent on what really matters. People say they're not morning people, but that's almost certainly because they were irresponsible and undisciplined the night before. The best way to master the morning is to master it the night before. Dante said there's no way to glory under the blankets, but the paradox is that one needs to get under them. Just do it consistently and early. Seneca said every time one goes to sleep, they should ponder that they may not wake up the next day. Whoever has lived life to the fullest each morning wakes up with a profit. When it's hard to wake up, remind oneself of who they are. Remind oneself of the tradition and what's at stake. Think of Marcus Aurelius or Toni Morrison. Be glad to wake up because it's better than the alternative, which everyone will sooner or later face. Feel the joy of being able to do what one loves. Cherish time and use it to its maximum benefit while it's still there. That's all for today. If you liked the video, please subscribe, like it, and also share your opinion in the comments. It helps a lot in promoting the channel and the video. Goodbye until new meetings.